everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Chamber Within. Although I share my experiences, whether they are out of body, clairaudient events, and the like, I just wanted to go over signs that you may be having a spiritual awakening. Now, please keep in mind this is a list that is not definitive or final, but simply a peek into my window. So, this is how I came to accept my experiences and realize my abilities. And obviously, this is all from my point of view. To that point, and really quickly, I want to share an ancient Indian parable called The Blind Men and the Elephant. I'll give you a brief synopsis. Now, when I was in college and forced to take a religion class because I was late registering, I came across this story and I'm so glad I did. Now, this story is about several men who are blindfolded and standing around an elephant. Each person places their hand on the part of the elephant directly in front of them, and then they have to describe what the object is. Now, one person touches the trunk and says the object is long and flexible. Another touches the tail and describes something thin and bony. And another touches the belly and says the object is round and large. And as you can see where this is going, they're standing around the same animal but describing different parts. Now, each of them is describing what they've experienced and believe to be true, but are only touching one part of the grand whole. And I believe it goes on to them disagreeing and arguing because it is their truth, but it is part of the bigger truth. And that's my point moving forward. What I experience may be like what others have experienced, or it may not. And this is why I love comparing notes with others who have awakened, because I find this journey absolutely fascinating. What we do not know is so vast, really, it's infinite. And simply because I'm awakening in such a way and you are not, that does not mean that my experience is more valid than yours and yours more valid than mine. And obviously that goes without saying, but I feel like that might not be obvious to everyone. So I just wanted to put that out there as a disclaimer. Now, I have compiled a list of 4 things, it's not very long, that I can look back on and see as a sign of my own awakening in no particular order. Number 1, experiencing unexplained phenomenon that is undeniable, especially repeated phenomenon. Now, at the time, I had 2 out of body experiences before I accepted those events as part of my spiritual journey. I was 12 when it happened the first time, and in my early 30s, the second time. If you have been listening to me for some time, you already know what I'm talking about, but for those who do not, those experiences are described in my episodes 4 and 5. Just to rehash, so unexplained phenomenon, meaning you are aware of spirit or you've seen a ghost or someone not in physical form, or the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and you're not sure why. Phenomenon, unexplained phenomenon. Hopefully they weren't all out of fear, but things that do not make sense but you know are very real. Okay. Number 2, self-isolation. What I have learned to be true is that everything we need is within us. Truthfully, if we allow it, and sometimes we only find it in moments when we are just with ourselves for an extended amount of time. For one reason or another, we tend to grow tired of the constant company of others. The distraction and validation is no longer needed or wanted. Putting on a mask or brave face just to make others feel better just doesn't feel worth it anymore. It feels disingenuous, especially when we are looking within, trying to sort out who we are at our core. That isolation happened to me during the pandemic. We were all sheltering in place and had to be with ourselves, and I was going through my separation. So I had a lot of time away from work and away from my previous marriage, right? I was just with myself, with my own thoughts. Um, I hear some people still going through it now where they just don't want to be bothered and they just want to be by themselves, or they're just really trying to sort out what's going on in their lives. And so that might be a clue into you being on the brink of an awakening or just going through it. You may even know it, but this is definitely a factor that I've heard time and again, and I for sure went through it myself. So, number three, finally paying attention to our inner feeling, or as I'd like to say, knowing. This is huge because we are taught to deny the very essence of ourselves, the divinity within us, the spark of God, of all there is, source that gives us life itself. The gut feeling that tells us something is off or someone is unsafe to be around. I'd like to call this a knowing. So, an undeniable truth that cannot be backed up with logic. You just know. And this is the start of trusting your intuition. Not going with, you know, what you can see or prove or count or, you know, just break down factors and kind of get to this reasoning. You just know it. You don't need all of that. You just know it as a sensory being. Um, I've had instances where I have felt, how can I describe it? Uh, I'll start with the positive. I have felt in love, like in a loving environment, not in love romantically, but in a loving environment, welcoming, safe. And I have felt the opposite, like uh, yucky, for the lack of a better word, turned off. Just, I got to get out of here, repelled. So those gut feelings are very real and they're an aspect of who you are. You know, you don't need to explain it, you just need to trust it. So, the knowing within and your intuition. That's number three. Number four, finally, an expanded belief system. Now, this comes with the acceptance of the aforementioned items I've just listed, as well as others, but spirit whispers. That's why it's called subtle energy. We are experiencing gross mass in this physical body of ours by comparison, right? It's heavy, dense, difficult at times, but also loud and obvious. If you were to stub your toe on an end table, you wouldn't refer to it as a one off like I did my experiences. Like, oh, I don't know what that is. That was just a dream, or that's just, I can't explain it, so I'll explain it away. In this body, you would try your best to avoid that end table again because you accept it as very real. You know, while walking with bare feet, you would avoid that table. You would know it as a real experience and accept it. And when I say have an expanded belief system, when you accept spirit as part of your day to day, the possibilities are endless because you incorporate the unseen with the seen. It's about embracing more of the self. And quite frankly, there's way more of the self that is unknown and has yet to be explored. Now, while some of us have an awakening because of a near death experience, or some people try mushrooms or DMT, which can also expand the senses, and Lord knows how many other ways that can exist, my final acceptance came out of a life changing level of emotional pain. I sat with my trauma in silence because I so desperately craved peace. I, out loud, renounced fighting, arguing. I declared that I would not fight with another human being ever again because it simply was not worth it and completely drained my energy. I honestly think my decision to stop combating others played a large part in my personal trajectory. It was a weight I decided to finally put down. The fighting I saw as ties that did nothing but bind me to people instead of releasing me from them. It doesn't help you to go back and forth. Just let it go. That's my advice. I also accepted that life has more to offer than what meets the eye. I say that because I literally felt my heart open up like a blooming flower during meditation one day, and I have not looked back since. It's not a feeling that you deny, right? You just, I can deny a dream or, that the hairs on the back of my neck standing up, but that feeling during a moment of silence and meditation when I felt absolute love in my heart expanding and my senses, it felt like a bubble. Like I just became bigger than what I was. I expanded out and came back in, but it was from the origin of my heart. I haven't looked back since. The stage I am in now, I consider integration, and it is interesting. Bringing the knowledge of spirit to this life, which means letting go of fear, releasing doubt, shedding beliefs of lack and limitation, and then finally embracing others with love, real love, um, seeing past what you would consider or what I would consider to be their faults. These are my daily tasks as I see my life unfolding. Like, I'm not making a list, I am just approaching my uh, life and, I guess, challenges or obstacles in a more positive way, in a way that serves me. I am more mindful, which is hard to put into words. I guess it's just really like being aware of my thoughts. But I'd like to do an episode on what mindfulness means for me as I try my best to swim these choppy waters of life. Because it's still choppy. It's not perfect, but I feel supported and equipped with tools. And these tools help me move forward. Now, if you're experiencing any of the things that I mentioned today or something similar, I do invite you to reach out. You can email me your thoughts, your experience, or your questions. My email, as always, is thechamberwithin@yahoo.com, or you can leave a comment on my YouTube channel. If you send a question, please let me know whether it's okay for me to share it in a future episode. If not, that's completely fine. Your message will remain private. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Talk to you later. Bye bye.